Welcome to the Transform Your Wedding podcast, a how-to guide for taking your wedding to a whole new level. Here's your host, Marie Kubin from Rent My Wedding.
Hey everyone, today we're talking about how to plan a beautiful backyard wedding. I'll be chatting with Chioma, the owner of Dury Events. With more than a decade of experience, Chioma has planned beautiful weddings around the world. Her work has been featured in CNN, Ebony Magazine, and more. So I'm really excited to talk with Chioma and hear all of her amazing advice about backyard weddings. Hey Chioma, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, Marie. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well, I'm really excited because it's that time of year when we can start talking about backyard weddings.
No.
Some couples are actually hosting at home and having their weddings in the backyard for a lot of different reasons. What are some of the reasons that you're hearing why couples want to have the backyard wedding?
Well, because we're in this COVID season, and I don't think this COVID is going anywhere, it just feels a lot more safer to be outdoors celebrating your events, and you're able to have more space to be able to space things out, and you're not worrying about having to overly sanitize compared to you hosting it in your house, and you have to hire a sanitation company to pre-sanitize, pre-clean, and then also do it even afterwards. At the most, maybe if you have the restroom available for guests to be able to utilize that, but it just feels a lot more safer for celebrants and couples to be able to do their weddings outside. It just feels more safe.
Yeah, definitely. And especially this year more than ever, that's something that's so important. And,
Mhm.
not only that, but I found too, it's a really great way for couples to save money. So, you save on the cost of the venue. You can maybe do your catering and your food and beverage for a lot cheaper than if you were in a traditional venue.
Mhm.
So, I think it's, for the couples who might be a little frustrated with this whole COVID thing, at least there's a silver lining. It's a great way to save money and have kind of a more intimate wedding.
And plus, you don't have to worry about the venue service fees and taxes. And as far as talking about the financial aspect of it, you're absolutely right, Marie. You do save a lot of money. You get more creative. You get to do start when you want to start and when you want to end. You get to hire the vendors that you really want to work with. They don't have to be insured hopefully, but licensed, to be able to like do something do host events for. You get to bring your own drinks, so you don't have to have it'd be great to have a TABC licensed bartender, but you don't have to get all these policies and insurance because you're hosting it at your house, and you get to set up whenever you want to, and you get to tear down whenever you want to without having to pay additional fees to strike out. So yeah, you're absolutely right. You do save a lot of money by doing hosting a backyard event, especially at your house. And another great thing too is nowadays you're actually able to, some private property owners that own mansions, that very big backyards, are now leasing out their houses to host events at, especially in the backyard. So you're definitely able to, one of the tips would definitely be able to like contact either like a broker or real estate agent to help you find any house that's been on the market now for about a year plus, as long as your event is being done within like 45 days, etc. So you're able to get that house and maybe pay maybe between 4,000 to about $10,000 a day to have, or the weekend to have a whole mansion to yourself. And as long as you do it outside, I just did something similar in California, and they put up the house on a share space. So peer space. You go to peerspace.com.
Okay.
Peerspace.com do have a lot of private properties that are that lease out their homes for event. As long as you have insurance and you have a cleaning crew to clean up before and after, perfectly fine. So yes, you definitely get to save a lot more money by doing it there.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's such a great idea. I've heard of the Airbnb weddings, but that's such a good idea too. Even just homes that are on the market and maybe not selling can be a really good
Mhm.
opportunity to use that beautiful backyard if you don't want to do it at your own house, you don't have that kind of backyard space. So that's such a great tip. I just love that. And I love too how you're mentioning, you have so much control. You have way more control over the entire wedding if you're hosting it at home or in a, rental house. And that's something that's so hard to predict too, because, when you're planning, you don't know how late you want the wedding to go. When you get there, you might want to keep partying, or maybe it feels like it's ending and you're just stretching it out and trying to stay till, the last hour when people are going to come and start tearing down. So it's kind of nice not to have that stress of like trying to plan ahead of time, and you can just decide at the wedding, when to wrap things up.
Yes. So agree with you.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to a backyard wedding, what are some of the things that couples should think about as far as the planning goes?
Well, the number one thing is, of course, being mindful of your guest count. Can your guest count fit into that backyard? You have to be able to decide if you want it open, do you want it tented? And if you want it to be tented, do you want it a clear tent? Do you want it a fully covered tent, or partially covered tent? Do you want the tents that have the window pane type of feel? And also, depending on the season as well, too, do you need to get some outdoor ACs or outdoor heaters, some mist, etc. Definitely getting somebody to measure the backyard and do a full layout and scale of the backyard to ensure that it will be able to fit the design and also be able to fit your guest count. And you have to also be very mindful of the vendors that are going to be working that day. Where are their prep stations? Are they allowed to prep in the kitchen area, the garage area? Is there like a prep area? Are you planning on having a portable potty? And like nowadays, the hand sanitizer station, the hand washing stations, you have to be very mindful of doing your place. First, do your layout first, then start working on your placements of the things that you need. And then also, and like I mentioned before, definitely having insecticide, what are they called again? The pest control to come and scout the property thoroughly and spray it down. Now be very mindful. If you're picking a property that has a lot of trees, that actually requires a different kind of pest control company that will be able to fog. And when they fog, they better have these cannon shooters that are so big to fog all the way to the tree and fog around the island perimeters, and also fog the grass, because quite a few of those insects are attracted to sweets, to sweet and salty type of food, things that smell good, and also attracted to light as well too. So you have to definitely fog at least 3 days before, because you want to be able to make sure that your guests are able to like breathe proper air, and then also to fog afterwards, and making sure that the chemicals that they are using are not going to damage your lawn. So I usually advise to possibly maybe consider having a deck, so that way things are not kind of decking out the backyard, so that way people are not damaging the lawn with the heels, and also how dense is the floor, because everybody thinks it's so easy to do a backyard event, but you have to consider how dense is it. What is the weather like? Did it rain the day before? Even if there's no rain in the forecast the next day, but the floor might still be damp, and you don't want your guests with the shoes sinking in, and the Louboutins and etc. and the Valentinos damaged with mud, and they're not going to have fun. And then you also have to think about the weight of your guests when they are sitting down on that chair. Are they sinking into the ground? So that's why it's safe to be able to like say the safe option is for just go ahead and just deck the floor, fog it properly, make sure you have your outdoor heaters or the outdoor ACs and fans, and don't do the ones that are going to blow the centerpieces away. You don't want that. And then also consider tenting. So with tenting, you're able to do the air conditioners, the coolers that are that can be in the tent rather than just kind of flying off. And then also think about as well to the neighborhood that you're hosting the event at. What are their music and sound policies there? What are the deed restrictions at that particular neighborhood? And talking to your neighbors first, talking to the homeowners association for those particular property to find out what are the restrictions. Do they need to send emails out to all the residents there to let them know that you are hosting an event? Do you need to borrow a couple of the parking spots, etc., to be able to and definitely hire a valet to ensure that the cars are properly parked to whereby it's not going to cause any problems. And also keeping in mind that because of noise, they may probably request that you stop all music by 9 to 10 p.m. Some of them now have restrictions of 6 p.m. So make sure that you're looking into a property where you can have dinner outside and be able to transition into the house for dancing, where you can be able to play music, and also have officers, have security on site, and making sure that is an officer that understands that neighborhood very, very well. They're in and out of that particular neighborhood to make sure that they understand the how they transition, how they flow, in case it happens for safety reasons and something looks odd and somebody is trying to come over there and come and rob. And so you have to consider the safety of your neighbors and the safety of your guests and of yourself as well too. So make sure that you hire the sheriff or the officer that knows that the area very, very well. So the homeowners association should be able to give you those information. So there's a lot to consider when you are deciding to do an outdoor event. So I know there's probably a lot of information, but I'm like, I don't want to overload, just in case if I'm overloading, just let me know.
No,
So
that is so helpful. There's really a lot to think about. And, I just
mhm,
learned a lot myself because I think, backyard wedding, it's going to be even easier than a regular venue. But it's not the case. You really need to think about all these different details. And I love how you just kind of laid out every single step that you should consider. And it's
mhm.
good to think about that before you commit too. Make sure, do you want to do all of this? Can you make all of these factors work? Do you have the parking? Do you have decking? Kind of think about it
Mhm.
ahead of time and be thoughtful about it before you commit to doing that backyard wedding.
Yes, absolutely. So that's some of the tips that I would say for them to consider, and then ensuring that the vendors are insured. That's important too. The
Mhm.
vendors, are they insured in case of damages? Oh, another major tip too. Electricity.
Mm.
Just because it's a house does not mean that that house can be able to pull the DJ, pull the AC, pull the cooler, pull the heater, pull the electricity for the chef to cook and the band, so it can blow the power. So the safest route, even if the homeowner tells you that, oh, we have enough power, don't trust that. Please get a generator.
Oh, that's a great
Get
idea.
a generator, everybody plug into the generator. Let it be that the outlets of the house are just only available to just charge your phone.
Yes.
That's it. Have a generator, have the chef all cook outdoors, not indoors for fire reasons, and make sure that you also pull insurance. I would probably say pull insurance like fire insurance, not just only just property damage, but also fire. Um, it's called for fire damage, etc. That's another separate kind of insurance because your insurance may not be able to cover because your house is not technically set for you to host events.
Oh,
So the insurance company will not honor if anything happens to it. Will not honor because you decided to open it up for events, you decided to host an event on your property, and the house caught fire, God forbid. Get a fire insurance. Call your insurance company that gets insured your house to make sure that you are covered for fire damage and also for electrical damage as well too, to make sure that you're thoroughly covered. So get that house thoroughly insured before you decide to host any events at your house. That's why it's just safe to just go ahead and just do it at the backyard, have the generator, have everything as much as you can happen at the backyard, and let it be that the house is just available for just restrooms, really.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So now on to the fun stuff. When it comes to decor, how can you decorate that backyard to make it look like a beautiful wedding?
You can make a backyard do anything. Like most people think that whenever you do a backyard, you have to go with the greeneries. I mean, what's the point of having greens when it's already green back there already? So have fun with it. Like any color can go back there. I am such a huge fan of decking the backyard, like making sure that um you deck it out and you can literally use like white carpet. You can use masonite, like whiteboards to whiteboard the floor. You can create like pathways. Just make it more of an experience for your guests. Like they're not coming to a regular old backyard. Convert that backyard to look like an actual ballroom by creating, like, instead of guests walking on grass to the deck, create a path deck, like a pathway that leads to that particular deck so that your guests get to walk from concrete to a nice carpeted deck to an actual deck. And if you leave it open without a tent, honestly, even the way to pull in chandeliers, you can have the hooks, like the shepherd hooks, but like the actual hook that actually has chandeliers in it to be able to cascade it over tables.
Oh, I love
Um, to illuminate the room, and it looks absolutely very beautiful. Utilize to the backyard, and you can also play with uplights too. Use a couple of uplights if there are trees there. Light up the uplight the trees, the greens, etc. To give them different color. You'll be very surprised as to how much, if you're doing a nighttime, how much the greens actually pull beautiful lights, and it gives it a complete different ambiance back there. So there's so many things that you can do, and to not limit yourself. Trust me, I did a destination wedding one time where we were on the beach, and everybody thinks that, oh, beach, you just have to just work with the sand. No, you don't. I completely transformed that beach, that sandy area, to literally look like a ballroom, where the bride had to have the chandelier. She got to have the beautiful table, the beautiful draping, and also gorgeous dance floor and gorgeous uplights. And literally there was no difference of a ballroom, compared to it being outdoors. So have fun with it. And don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. You can set that stage to also make it run like an actual indoor event.
Definitely. I love that. And yeah, I couldn't agree more. If you just have the right decorations, you can transform any space. It's going to look just like a regular venue. It's going to look like anything you can imagine. So as long as you get the right decorations, it's going to be beautiful.
Be
And
beautiful,
I
yes.
love uplighting too. I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think it's one of those things it's so easy to do, but it makes such a big impact. So, you throw in a couple of uplights on the trees, it gives it those pops of color. And to me, that's like wedding ambiance right there. You're used to seeing that wedding lighting, and that's what kind of sets the mood. So I love that you're talking about doing that even for a backyard wedding.
And another thing too that you can do too, even the back of the house, put some uplights back there. So
Mm-hmm.
that on the front end, you're looking at beautiful details, and then behind you, it's fully lit up and washed, with uplights. You can even add patterns on there too to make it really cute. And another tip I would give as well too, you don't have to have everybody all on the same deck. You can create mini decks everywhere, and that can actually connect and transition. So it can create a pathway to a deck, to a deck, to a deck, to a deck. Make it visually, fun and creative. So, and you can have the band over here, you can have the cake over here, you can have the DJ over here. So you can have create path decks that's connecting to different decks. You have the main deck where the guests are, then you have a path that leads to the dancing deck, a path that leads to the DJ deck, a path that leads to the band deck, to the cake deck, to the champagne fountain deck, just to kind of make it more pleasing. If I'm going to be outdoors, might as well have fun with it. So, yeah, so
Definitely.
just get really creative with it.
Yeah, I love that. It just gives it some flow and really makes it a really great guest experience too. So
Yes.
awesome. So, Gemma, tell us more about you and your company.
Oh, okay. Well, I became officially an event planner maybe about, we've been in the business now for about 14 years.
Okay.
We have been grateful enough to host about 400 events.
Wow.
It was sincerely an accident that I became an event planner. I remember watching my mom. My mom was a big host. She was always catering to people. I just thought that that's just what you're supposed to do. And I was just so very particular about anything that I host, just being very neat, very organized, a particular, pizzazz to it. But the accident actually came about when an old friend asked me to come decorate, their church. And I just went to the church to go decorate, and I noticed that she had about a lot of bridesmaids that were really not being helpful. And I went to her and I asked her, hey, do you need help with anything? And she said, yes, because I know you're behind this boss, Chioma. I need you to coordinate this wedding tomorrow. And I'm like, what is it supposed to be coordinated and organized? Girl, no, you're not about to set me up. And she was like, Chioma, I need you to do this wedding. If not, and I'm like, oh my God. So simple, long story short. So I am a business that's held with a strong foundation in God. And I went to my cousin's basement. I said a long prayer to my Lord, and I told him, please guide me through, because I don't know what I'm doing. And I know this sounds very crazy, but come the day of, it's interesting how literally images in my head as to what I'm supposed to do was literally playing in my head. Okay, Chioma, tell that person to do this, tell that person to do that. Like, I want you to coordinate this way, this way, this way. So I was able to run the event by myself, 350 people, seated dinner, strictly by invite only. And it was actually her husband that went and researched. And then at that time, there were only 4 wedding planners in Houston, Texas, that researched and said, you really need to consider doing this. Because at that time, I wanted to be a marketing executive. I was in the process of having my own clothing line. I'm very big on skin. I want to work on my skincare line, my own spa, and then also own an advertising and marketing firm. That was what I was aiming for. And so I did not think in a million years I will ever be an event planner. So as God will have it, we have gotten so much attention to the point where we have been very first feature on Essence and Ebony magazine, and then we got featured on CNN. CNN came down to Houston and actually followed me for 3 days to talk about Nigerian weddings and traditional weddings. We've been on Vogue, Cosmopolitan, New York Times, BuzzFeed, Daily Mail UK, Malala Chibata magazine, Bella Niger. Just recently, of course, Party Slate, and I just recently won Brides magazine top planners in America with other amazing event planners. So it's such an honor to be considered, complete an honor and just humbled to be here. I'm still blown away. But yes, I have an amazing team of girls that work with me and that really, really ensure that I stay on top of things. Of course, there's always room to grow, always. I never consider every moment to be comfortable. I never sit down and say, oh, I've made it, I'm here, I'm gonna relax. No, to me, the work has just begun. And every single event, we take it, our culture in doing events, we like to carry our clients as if they're our family. I like to dine with them. I like to spend time with them and get to know their family. I pick up my own phone. I don't have assistants picking up my own call. Yes, I have a team of team leads and assistants, but I prefer to have that one-on-one relationship. So it's really important to me that every event is handled like as if it's our very first and also as if it's our very last, because they would never get that day back again. So we handle with utmost sensitivity and care and nurture and love. And that is a culture that we have created in Dura events to make our couples feel like they are part of our family. And we are also a part of their family. We talk to their parents, we talk to their sisters and brothers. So it's not just so rigid and businessy. So it's a journey that we take. So so I'm grateful, absolutely grateful to God to be doing what I have grown up to love doing. And I don't see myself doing anything else but this. I love it.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing to see how something that was just an accident turned into such a huge success.
Yeah.
So, and tell everyone how they can get in touch with you.
Oh, absolutely. You can definitely reach me at info@duraevents.com or chioma@duraevents.com. We do have our website, www.duraevents.com, or Instagram. I'm very, very active on Instagram, which will be at Dura Events. And you can DM me, send me a message, send me an email, and those would be the best ways to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Well, Chioma, I really enjoyed chatting with you about backyard weddings. You had so many great insights and tips for us. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm very honored. Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode about how to plan a beautiful backyard wedding. And don't forget, you can catch all of our podcast episodes over at transformyourwedding.com. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you next time.
This podcast is brought to you by Rent My Wedding, your one-stop shop for event rentals. Order online and rentals are delivered right to your door. Shipping is free both ways nationwide. Rent lighting, backdrops, photo booths, and more. With the most 5-star reviews in the industry, Rent My Wedding makes rentals easy and affordable. Book your rentals today at www.rentmywedding.com.